You may have never actually heard of the term task saturation, but I bet you've experienced it. So task saturation is a term that originally, I believe, came from the Navy SEALs, of the situations where there's so much going at you, so much coming at you, and literally in their case, maybe it's like 15 people all shooting at them and they're trying to get to this objective, and the brain at a certain point becomes so saturated with all those inputs that it feels like it can't do anything at all. Now, most of us don't have that kind of situation where our life is literally at risk here and people are shooting at us. Most of the time it's, I got so many things on my to-do list, there's no way I'm going to get them all done. And our brain starts, especially if we're on a deadline, our brain starts to shut down. And so basically what ends up happening is when you have that so much that I have to do that I can't get anything done, there are several effects of this. The first one is what I call the frustration vortex. So I've got so much to do that I can't get anything done. And so then we sort of don't get much done. And then the next day we've got even more that we have to get done. And so it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And the only way to get out of that is to break out of that and to go on. The second thing is, another great example of task saturation is a football quarterback, okay? So American football, not the round kind, the kind you throw. And he is literally in a situation where at least 5 guys on the other team, their job is to tackle him before he can do something. And so every single time that ball gets hiked, he is under task saturation. Hopefully his guys are doing a good enough job of keeping them off until he can pass it or run it or whatever. But oftentimes that's not the case. And there's people coming at you. And so they have to deal with that. And what we find is when people are experiencing task saturation, the brain literally stops remembering everything. So the brain says, I've got too much to concentrate on. One of the things I can shed is I don't have to remember everything. And so it stops remembering everything. The problem is some of that stuff it's supposed to be remembering is important stuff. And so I'm going to show you a solution for that in a moment. The second thing is that they tend to lose situational awareness. Go back to the football quarterback. He may be aware that there's a guy coming from his left side, but he becomes less aware of that because he's so focused on the guy who's 20 yards down the field who he's trying to hit with the pass that he ignores the guy coming at him from the left side, and it ends up with him getting sacked. And so that situational awareness is a big deal for us in our lives because oftentimes we do things like say things that sounded cruel. We send out emails that don't have the right link in them. We end up making choices that we make a major mistake and all of a sudden we get a $2,000 ad bill in one day, or we don't put in a key piece into our sales message, whatever those things, all those situational awareness pieces are part of this task saturation. Okay, so that's the effect. How do we solve it? So the first thing is this. We have to, in order to succeed in this, we have to recognize that our brains lie to us on a regular basis. You are probably not so busy that you can't get anything done. What you're doing is you're suffering too much coming at you. That doesn't mean you can't get anything done. It just means you have to pick and choose of the things coming at you, which ones you're going to focus on. And so, which goes to the next thing. This is the thing that scientists have identified, is that you choose one thing and do it. This is what they teach the Navy SEALs. When there's 15 people all shooting at you, choose one of them that you need to take out and take that one out. And then we can deal with all the other ones. And so choose the one thing and just do that. Now, hopefully you're not going to choose something that's going to take 3 months to accomplish. Hopefully you're not going to choose something that is going to require 100% of your focus all day long. Ideally, you're choosing some things that can quickly be done so you can cross some things off your list so you can go on. I'll show you that in just a moment. Next is write down key tasks. So remember, One of the ways your brain deals with this is that your brain starts selectively remembering. And so by selectively remembering, it is choosing to forget things. And so what ends up happening is, as you go through this process of going back to the last one, of choosing one task and do it, before I do that, I sit down and just spend 5 minutes and I write down the key tasks that have got to get done. Okay, now that may not be a complete list. I'm not trying to do a getting things done list of every single thing that's got to be done in the world, because that's too overwhelming for me. But if I write down just the 5 things that have got to get done this week, then at least I know that I won't selectively forget something really important. And then categorize them. So let me just show you this. One of the reasons I'm talking about this is because I'm feeling this right now. And so I just sat down and did this right here. So this is the list of things that I got to get done this week. And they're in categories. See, they're nice categories. That's how one of the ways that I do this is I put them in those categories. And so that I can go down and say, today I'm going to work on this particular project. And I'm going to go down and cross things off on that particular ones. Next is make sure you write down the key things that have to be remembered. Sometimes it's as simple as just having a 355 card. I have a whole bunch of them sitting next to me where I write things down. So literally, here's what's in front of me right now. This is my list of things, because right now I'm under task saturation. This is my list of things that I can't forget. And so I'm keeping notes on that. Next, tap into other minds. Now, not all of us have this, but if you've got a partner, a spouse, virtual assistant, somebody on a call where you can say, hey, I need your help. I'm feeling overloaded right now. Can you make sure that this and this and this gets brought up in this call that's going to happen? Can you make sure that I actually do this? Sometimes, could you do that for me? I find that that's incredibly valuable on things like maybe you're on a coaching call with 25 people and you say, I need to bring this up at the end, but right now is not the best time. Can somebody be in charge that 10 minutes from now, will you ping me on the chat and remind me that I'm supposed to talk about that? All of a sudden, what you just did is you took it out of your mind, put it into their brain. They're going to let you know, and so you can go on. When you're in the process, so Navy SEAL, he's got to focus on taking out the person who is most keeping him from the objective. The quarterback has got to focus on the guy who he's supposed to be passing to. For us, I strongly suggest you focus first on what brings in the cash. So oftentimes what ends up happening is when we're so overwhelmed, we end up doing the things that are least important. Oh, I got to go check my email. I got to go check Facebook right now. And it's like, no, you don't. Go write that email, which is the thing that's going to bring in some cash tomorrow, and get it sent out. Okay. Focus on the things that bring in cash, because oftentimes those are the things that maybe you're procrastinating because you're a little scared or whatever. And so do the cash generators first. So for example, the quarterback who's got to get 3 more yards to get the first down may have somebody 40 yards down the field, but he's not quite open. He can focus on that and maybe make that pass, or maybe he needs to just dump it off to the guy 4 yards down the field so he can get the first down, so he can have another chance to hit the guy with a long ball later down the field. Focus on the things that bring in the most important results immediately. Next, because you may have to let some opportunities slide. That guy that's 40 yards down the field, you may end up choosing not to do that right at this moment. You may end up saying to somebody, hey, I really appreciate this opportunity that you've given me to be on your podcast in 3 weeks. I can't do it right now. Love to do it in a month and a half, but I can't do it right now. It's just, I've got too much going on. Then another important thing on this categorized list, cross things off. There is science in every time we cross things off, we get that little hit of, I think it's dopamine. I can't remember. I can never keep my brain chemicals right, which one's which, but it helps that. Remember back to that original thing where I said brains lie. It helps your brain to be realistic and to recognize the truth that, oh, I'm actually crossing things off. so that you are making progress. And one of the things that I really like to do is at the end of every day or in the middle of the day, if I'm feeling overwhelmed, instead of focusing on all the things that I'm not getting done, I like to remind myself of what I actually got done. So, all these things, I did nothing today. Well, no, actually you did 5 things. Tell yourself you did a good job doing 5 things. Congratulate yourself so you can go on. Then one more thing that I've discovered. So notice I haven't talked about things like exercise and meditation and going out for walks and things like that, which are all good ways to overcome task saturation. The challenge is they tend not to work right at the moment because going on a walk or doing meditation doesn't reduce the number of things on your list. That's the reason why all these cards focused on the number of things on your list. But one of the things that I've discovered is it's important to have that walk. It's important to have that meditation. But what I've discovered is there's real value in doing one more thing before I do that. Okay. So yes, I'm going to go on my walk, but I'm going to complete this 1 10-minute task before I do it so that I can cross it off my list. So it's one less thing that's got to be done. And then I will go reward myself with my walk. And that one more thing before I do the thing that I really want to do, oftentimes is what ends up clearing enough off your plate, doing that for a week, that at the end of the week, now you can say, okay, I'm no longer suffering from task saturation. Man, I can't even talk. I can go on. I can perform. So there's your task saturation, some of the science, some of the things that you can do to help get over it. What are some of the techniques that you've used? Let me know in the chat. Let me know if you ever suffer task saturation. Maybe it's just me and no one else cares. I don't know. Let me know in the chat. This is Don Crowther saying, just go do this stuff.